Hey, this is John with FixYourDirtBike.com, and this is a quick video to show you how simple it is to rebuild the Showa KZ3P SA-1 rear shock on your dirt bike. As always, you can find the detailed step-by-step instructions at FixYourDirtBike.com with parts list, tool list, and torque specs. Showa suspension can be found on many different makes and models of dirt bikes, so if this shock isn't an exact match to yours, the rebuild will be similar. That being said, I have not been able to find a complete rebuild kit for this specific shock, but you can still get individual parts through the link on the walkthrough page. As you'll see in this rebuild, the seals, O-rings, and bushings were in surprisingly good shape, so I took a chance and reused them. Make sure to clean and inspect every part of the shock during teardown. Suspension parts get beat up quickly, so anything that looks worn or broken needs to be replaced. Back out the preload adjustment nut to release spring pressure. The spring plate is held on by a circlip attached to the collar. To separate the collar and the spring plate, place a screwdriver between the collar and the spring. Then hit the plate with a hammer to expose the circlip. Remove the circlip, the backing plate, and the spring. Clean the reservoir cap and release the air from the bladder. Using the valve stem removal tool, remove the valve stem from the reservoir cap. Remove the shock body cap using a punch and hammer. Go back and forth between the punch holes so the cap doesn't bind. Clean and inspect the seal head. As you can see, the seal head does not move with the shaft, and before we can remove the shaft, we need to remove the reservoir. Install the reservoir cap puller and beat the cap into the reservoir to expose the circlip. Remove the circlip, install the cap puller again, and pull the reservoir cap and bladder. To remove the shock shaft, begin by pushing the seal head down to expose the circlip. Remove the circlip and carefully work the shaft out of the body. Set the shock body aside to drain in a warm place for at least 10 minutes. Clean and inspect the shock body, shaft, and valve stack. The shaft nut will be shot-peened from the factory. If it is, you will need to grind down the nut until you can see a distinct separation between the nut and the shaft. But if your shock has previously been rebuilt, like this one, you shouldn't have to. Clean and inspect the threads. Transfer the valve stack to a screwdriver to keep everything organized. Remove the seal head, shock body cover, bumper, and collar. Clean and inspect. Check the shaft threads. You may need to repitch the threads using a small file. Check the seal head, body, and seals. These seals are still good, so I'm going to reuse them. Place the seal bullet over the end of the shock shaft. Install the collar, bumper, shock body cap, and seal head. Install the valve stack. Slide the shims and valve around until they line up with the shaft. Do not force them. Do not install the valve bushing yet. We will install the valve bushing right before final assembly. Apply a generous amount of thread locker to the shaft threads. Thread and torque the shaft nut. Wipe off any excess thread locker. After you torque the shaft nut, use a punch and hammer to seal the threads. I am not doing it here for video purposes. Back out the compression damper all the way to allow open oil flow between the reservoir and the body. Fill the reservoir halfway with oil to make sure the oil is flowing into the body. Install the valve cap and install the reservoir cap and bladder. You want to see the reservoir overflow as this forces air from the reservoir. Remove the valve cap and install the reservoir cap tool. Force the reservoir cap down far enough to expose the circlip groove. Install the circlip, reinstall the reservoir cap tool, and pull the cap up to the circlip. Remove the reservoir tool and install the valve stem. Using a low pressure pump, fill the bladder to around 40 to 60 psi. Fill the shock body halfway with oil. Install the shock shaft, working it up and down to remove any trapped air. As you go, continue filling the shock body with oil. Once the shock body has been filled with oil, install the valve bushing and set the seal head. Release the pressure from the reservoir bladder and remove the valve stem. Using your seal head setting tool, pound the seal head into the shaft body until the circlip groove is exposed. Install the circlip and valve stem. Inflate the bladder to 40 to 60 psi to seat the seal head against the circlip. Pump the shock shaft and check for any obvious leaks at the seal head and reservoir. Install the shock body cap. Let the shock sit under pressure for a while, then come back and test the action again while checking for leaks. Reinstall the spring, plate, and circlip. Tighten the preload adjustment nut and go for a ride. Once you have rebuilt your shock, you will need to get the reservoir bladder filled with 150 to 200 psi of nitrogen, depending on how soft you want your shock tuned. Do not fill the bladder with regular air. I'll get into why in a different video. If this rebuild looks like something you can handle, make sure to like and subscribe, then go to fixyourdirtbike.com for the detailed step-by-step instructions, tool list, parts list, and torque specs.